I think we spoke out last week a very, very important thing as the way goes. You work on one thing and you kind of run into something else. So we were talking about the mutim, and I definitely didn't realize we were going to get to this, but that's the good thing about Avad that it's a journey and we're not just conditioning ourselves, but we're exploring and checking and finding out and seeing. And what I had written in my notes, I believe from the Maharal, was the difference between tzchok and simcha. And along the way, being my tzchok, we said, well, we have to evaluate this thing, and we have to learn the difference between tzchok and simcha. And in a much wider way, I think that really is what we see happening in the world, and we're all subject to it, each person in his own way, is that 98, 99, 99.5% of the time, the world is looking for tzchok, and deep down, maybe they're looking for simcha, which is believe, something in the heart, but they're getting stuck in entertainment, comedy, thrills, sports, money, food, foodies, etc. And let's be honest, this obsession, way, mahalach has takes a big toll on the religious world also. It's incredible. I was just happened to read the Rosh Yeshiva of Torah Shlomo here. His name is Osband. Osband is a very big Tell's name, and his father's name was Isaac Osband. His brother died a year and a half ago or something. Avram Osband was a very big Adam Gadol, famous Rosh Yeshiva. And he's also a big Rosh Yeshiva. He's younger. He was one of Rav Shach's last Talmidim, and he was speaking about his brother, his father, excuse me, Rabbi Isaac, who was a European. And he said, "My father." Like there was never, ever a discussion in the house about food. It wasn't something he would ever speak about. It was like, okay, let's get done eating. People quote the Chavetz Chaim, like, let's just get done eating, be done with it and get back to life. So maybe today even we talk about being conscious about food and etc. But there was this mahalach. He said that once his mother forgot to give his father a fork and he didn't ask for a fork. He just waited, until she noticed he wasn't gonna. I think that might have been something else. He didn't want her to feel bad, but it was moving to me. And you think about in the world today how much, and we put everything under, it's Torah, it's a Kiddush, it's a Shalom Zacher, it's a this, it's a that. It's a kosher cruise, it's a hotel, but really it's chok. That's really, I hate to say it. I'm not being malabed chov chalil. I'm just trying to identify for us to see past it. When we really break it down, it's not. Doesn't mean I'm not saying everything. It's important for family. Family gets together and eats a little bit, and they gadol legim Hashem kareves is baalech. As I'll say, great is food because it brings people together. It is a way to bring people together and things like that. And a couple goes out to eat and appreciates their time together. True, but there's just so much of the underlying like not seriousness about life, and I think it's a pretty overwhelming thing today because there is so much money out there and there's so much possibility. There's so much, and things just slip in. Not necessarily coming from Rabbanim or Das Torah. Or, Toma became a thing. Chaim Kanievsky goes and tastes his wife's food for 3 seconds, now became a thing that people are stuffed before Shabbos. Like, what is that? That's not what Toma is. Toma doesn't mean to be stuffed before Shabbos. Like, it has nothing to do with it. Right? The simple pshat, as I said here before, I believe is just to taste, to make sure the food tastes good for Shabbos. To have other people's food not in your own home is stam. It's just stam. In Hebrew we have an expression sibalim siba. So again, I sometimes do it in yeshiva also, but a little bit of kugel, a little this, just to cure levavas. But what I'm trying to get to is that I know I'm speaking broadly, but this idea of like tzchok and just fun, it's distracting us not just from our avodas Hashem, but that's what we were trying to touch last week. It's distracting us from our real simcha, because we start defining joy being besimchas. How much time was I in a state of tzchok? How much time was I, dancing and singing and this, as opposed to how much time did I really feel good with myself? So I think is very, very important, right? And that it's a big thing. The difference, the way we saw it. is a very, very central thing in life, and how much it's so many things like that. It's the feeling of that one acquires with their wife after years of connection and love and building a family together, as opposed to what romance is in the world, where it's just something that's very excitable and this. And unfortunately, I certainly didn't want to speak about this. I don't want to be monopoly P in the Vaad to say such a thing, right? But that sometimes a member of the couple will like look for with other members, etc., flirtatiousness or something like that. But no, but what you're giving up on simcha, that's believed for tzchok in a certain way. uh the euphoria or something you'll reach with another member of, or the infatuation. It's just that, it's just excitement. It's not where it's at. It's a challenge for everybody. It's a challenge for me also. I'm speaking as if I'm really out of it. There are people who are totally past this. I get it. I understand it. You play a video game, which I don't do, thank God. But oh, look at this video game, we're shooting people. Oh, it's so much fun. And it's not really fun. It's not simple believe. That's just it's chok. It's chok. So it's a challenge. It's a real challenge, friends, today, because the world is. It wasn't always like that, right? You didn't. It wasn't. There wasn't such thing. You could just watch TV forever. When TV started. By the way, I tell you a fascinating thing. Ben Gurion, not a Fromi, he stopped Israel from having TV for a long time. Ben Gurion, David Ben Gurion, stopped TV from Israel. I read this. Not only that, he didn't let the Beatles come. That wasn't the society he was making. He was not making a TV society. So TV is just one big tzchok or whatever else you want to call it, right? I'm giving examples. So now you have, there's an English company called To Entertain. It's just like that's just to be entertained. People see themselves that they're just uh, repositories for being. The purpose of my life is to be entertained. Like that's all they're looking for, is just to be entertained. And it's very, very sad because it's so far from Simcha B'Lev, so far from where it's at. Um, and I was thinking now, I want to take another step, friends, that putting it all together, maybe this is a new message in what the miyutim are. Listen carefully. It means one level of the miyutim is just practically. You want to learn more? Well, if you're spending a lot of time eating, you spend a lot of time joking, you're spending a lot of time working, you're not going to learn. So be mamaya to learn more. Okay, that's level one. Functionary, utilitarian, like I said. But on a deeper way, the way I always had it was, and listen carefully, I think it's a nice thing. I always thought that Pshat Mutim was no, that the life of Torah is separate. It's like the cave. Sham Kanisa Hod Chavad Derech, like I always like to say, just like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was found himself in the cave, so we have to find ourselves in our cave. And that's what miyut is, to leave this life. It's like Torah B'Laila. There's a mahalach in Torah that it's separate. Limitar B'Laila is, I think the Maharal says, like it's kind of like when the world shuts down and now there's Lila and a cave and different. So the movement is from the world of all this stuff, Tanug, Tzchok, etc., Shena, right, physicality, to move to this like kind of like otherworldly place. That's how it was in my head till now. I don't think that's wrong, but I think it's even a deeper thing. I think we'll say it like this. No, the point of all the miyutim is to leave that chitzoniistic life to a more pneumistic life. Leave the chitzonius, a life of Torah, a life of limud Torah. Ein ben charan el mishosi b'Torah. Torah is inner life. It means that I'm interested in, not necessarily. You don't have to be otherworldly about it, the way I was saying it now before. It's that Torah, limud Torah, is connecting to what it's all about. Halacha, seeing Dvar Hashem in the world. That's bringing mashmos to this world, mashmos to life, not shamkanisa hodcha derecha, not going into a cave. It's good to go into a cave, but the point is that I'm attaching myself to inner simcha, and someone who's involved in learning is always happy. He's always involved in Torah. You hear the difference in the Nusach? Aaron, Eric, you hear the difference? It's not. I always thought I'm being misminded to go to this other Torah. The Torah life is an otherworldly life, which you have to touch, learn at night, learn separate, be different, and it's true. But here it's a little bit more penetrating. It's more be. It's like this. Svasema says about Meshivas Nefesh. Tosham Tmim Meshivas Nefesh. It Torah gives the answer to to the world. It brings us to inner joy. The battle between the body and the soul finds expression. It's not about Torah being otherworldly, being reminded over all those being reminded and all those other things help me to get into the true reality of this world. That's how we'll say it. Okay, so I was happy with this. I think it's a deep thing. Not sure how to work on this more. Ein ben choron el mishosei b'Torah. That's what would be like the depth of Ein ben choron el mishosei b'Torah. That someone's hosted b'Torah is that's the living. I'm reminded they said that here's I think this Meiser brings out the point. They say the mir in Hasidic yeshivas they leave their jackets on, and I had this once. I went to learn in Bells, the beautiful Bells building, and I just took off my jacket errantly. And someone tapped me on the shoulder literally and said, "Please put on your jacket." Of course, I did. When in Rome, do as the Romans. So when in Bells, do as the Belzers. And I didn't get a long coat and anything like that. But I put my jacket on. That's the derech eretz for sure. They want you to put your jacket up. You don't want to put your jacket and go somewhere else. I hate that when I see people like trying to buck the system. You're in a place. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Even the non-Jews know that. When in Rome, do as the Romans. So of course I put on my jacket. Why did I say that? Where was my train of thought there? Help me. Why did I say that? What did I try to get? See this? Oh. Sir Reb Nachum, Sir Reb Nachum said, by Hasidim, learning is avoda. So they keep their jackets on, like we have our jackets on for davening. By us, it's life. By the Litvaks, it's life. Learning is life. So we take off our jackets. At home, you take off your jacket. That's what I've heard attributed to Rav Nachum Pertzavis, the Rashiv of the Mir. We take off our jacket because that's life. That's just how we live. You talk to your wife. You don't have your jacket on when you talk to your wife. Then we're alive. We don't need our jackets on. That's what I heard Rav Nachum said. And a beautiful thing. So, but that's the point I'm getting to. This is like the inner life. This is the Simcha Dika life. Simcha Dika life that's what we're moving to. So the miyutim help me get the miyutim, according to this, or help me get my head out of all that tzchok and shena and tanug and making life all that everything the non-Jews are getting excited about to bring me back to center me to what's really important, what are real values, and the top of that pyramid is of course is limud Torah, learning. Okay, I want to take a sharp contrast to the next thing after the miyut. Maybe we'll come back to the miyutim, but I'm not saying we certainly haven't finished it, but I want to keep moving. And I think I have a nice nakuda to bring out. So let's focus for a few minutes. The next thing on the list is erech hapayim, which really means being a patient person, not being an angry person. Right? Now, what's the idea? The Maharal says, well, first off, I want to share the Tiferes Yisrael. This is Givaldig. When a person gets angry, and this is true, it's machlish charitzut vasikar v'gamaguf. The Tiferes Yisrael says in Avos, why is anger bad? Why is patience good? Because it mentally weakens you, and then again, that's going to be a functional utilitarian shot in the Kinyanei HaTorah. Don't get angry because if you're angry, your mind won't work as well. Don't get angry because you won't be as sharp. Don't get angry because feel weakened. If you're an angry guy, a person could learn 10 hours a day, and if you're angry, you're only going to be able to learn 8.5 hours a day. There you go. There's an hour and a half. If you're not angry, so then your memory is sharper and you'll be kohen more Torah. If you get angry all the time, your memory doesn't work as well. You're not going to know as much and you're not going to be as sharp. If you're sharper, you'll get to the right gedarim, you'll ask the right questions, you'll say the right chilukim, you'll say the right gedarim, you'll say the right nafkaminas, you'll be alamded. If you're getting angry all the time, it throws you off. So that's a beautiful, beautiful functionary pshat, which I know people always appreciate. Yeah? That's the kitzer that I wrote here for the Tiferes Yisrael, right? But the Maharal says that the reason you shouldn't get angry, because if you're angry, chachmaso mistalekes mimenu, right? Bali day kas, bali day toas, bali day shikha. Moshe Rabbeinu forgot a halacha when his tremendous madriga. He got angry. When a person's koes, your chachma is mistalek. Chachma moves away from a person. So that's more like a little bit more spiritual than it's more of a spiritual thing than the Tiferes Yisrael. Tiferes Yisrael thing is like a science thing. You get angry, so you're weak, your memory doesn't work well, you're not sharp. It has a bad effect on your physical and mental state, and you're not going to engage in Torah as well. But according to Maral, the way I understand is like chachma and anger don't go together. When you get angry, it runs away from you. Okay, that's what Maral says. So, friends, here's what I want to work on, and I think this is a big point for me and for all of us, and it's a difficult point. Let me speak it out. Kas is a little bit beyond the scope of this VOD, and we could just go make a VOD on Kas, right? But we're trying to learn it more in terms of Kinyanei HaTorah, and there are 48. So let's think for a second. Just in the Ferris role, I get it, right? You're going to get angry if you're a person who's constantly angry, then your whole mahalach is weakened. But in Maral, what we see in Chazal about anger is like it's a one connected one. You get angry and you leave and you lose chachma, right? It's not a mahalach of anger. I don't know if what happens. In other words, the Teferi Yisrael, my understanding is talking about when a person has a mahalach, he's an angry guy. There are people who are angry guys, and there are people who get angry from time to time, right? Most people in this fight, I assume, are not angry guys. If you are an angry guy or girl, you got to work on it. Revolver writes in Ali Shur basically, if you're angry, like just close the book and learn to be less angry because it throws everything off. So I'm assuming general, nothing against you. If you have that, we all have problems. But if you're a very angry person, you have to really work on it. And I think Teferi Yisrael, listen carefully, is generally speaking about that type of person. The person who's very, very angry, it really, your mind, your body, your memory is thrown off his anger. I don't think that happens so much because of one-time things. What does happen one time is the chachma is mistalik from you. You lose things. Now, that maral would lead us, and that's where am I coming from? I think that's what happened with Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu got angry. I forgot the exact story. Moshe got angry, and he forgot a halacha. It means generally Moshe was the biggest Talmid Chacham that ever was, by a long shot, obviously, but he got angry, forgot a halacha. He lost the anger, then he remembers, or etc. You get it? So the anger of the Chacham Mistalekis doesn't mean the whole Chacham, it means even the individual Chacham. So what I took from this is, and we're going to like sidestep a little bit, is that the Kinyan Torah is that it's so chashiv to me. Every little bit of Torah is that chashiv. I don't want to lose any of it. And if anger is going to make me lose even a little bit of Torah, I don't want any part of that. You get it? So I think to me, the lesson is to be moved by that and say that any Torah I have, I want to protect. And now my anger, I have, 25 units of Torah, 125 units of Torah, 2,000 units of Torah. I get angry, I'm going to lose one or two or three of those. I don't want to lose that, so I don't want to get angry. Right? If you're very angry, you're going to lose lots and lots more like that. That's what Tiferet is talking about. But I think in the Maral, that's the idea. Does that come out? Everybody, you see how it's coming out? Aaron, Eric, you see how it's coming out? Because the Chsiluk HaChachma from anger is like a one thing. By the way, we could have said this by Miatana also. We're just talking about other because it says a person should daven that I think it says somewhere, for every bit of time that comes in, some Torah goes out. So I'd introduce it there. We had other things to talk about, but that's right now. If I'm going to get angry right now, I'm going to lose, the shiurim I gave on Shavuos, and I'm holding in that are close to me. I just caused the first paragraph Psachim a little bit, right? It's close to me. If I would get angry now, I would lose some of that. I would lose some of that the tangible wisdom I have. So now here's the point, and here's the difficult thing for us, because if you're Reb Chaim Kanievsky, if you're Yaakov Kamenetsky, if you're Moshe Feinstein, then you say to yourself, look, if I remember to forget one shach, the story goes that Moshe was in his sukkah once, and he had a machlokas with someone about where a certain source was, and they checked the Gemara, and Moshe was wrong, and the other person was right. And Moshe turned white, they say, because he's so reliant on his memory for Psak Halacha, and he used to paskin without looking in the books. So he turned white because he didn't know how he'd continue, right? That's a high level. So I think there are all things in the world that we would do that. Let's say if we would, sometimes it'd be, people to, if you would in the middle of the shmooze screaming a curse word, while your Rav is speaking, you would suddenly like, say a bad word or something, right? That would be like something you can't do that even a single time, right? That'd be a blemish. Everybody would remember. Here he was in the middle did you hear did he just say that? Did he just say it? The Rav was speaking, he just called out, this word? Well, what was that, right? Imagine how we feel about that. That would be like this overwhelming sense of like, gosh, I can't believe I made that mistake. I can't believe where'd that come from, right? Certain types of mistakes are acceptable in our world, and certain types of mistakes are just not acceptable. Think about it. That's like an unacceptable mistake. Like you said, a curse in the middle of the Rav's drasha. You got to get it together. Like you have to, that's you need. I don't know what to do for that, but that's right. So listen carefully to them. That's how it was. Forgetting one shach, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, so Rabbi in Yeshiva just mentioned a story like that. Rabbi Kamenetsky for sure was holding with everything all the time, right? So to them, when they would forget something and not be holding, it was like whoa. So to us, I know for me, and I assume everybody, our Torah isn't that exact. It's not that strong. It's not that important in a certain way. I hate to say it like that, right? But like, okay, we're all trying our best, trying to remember. I'll give you another story. There's a big guy named there was a very, very big guy named Pinchas Schreiber. He's one of the great Dayanim of the last generation. He sat in some of the famous Dinei Torah. And his son his son Yassala is holding shots, a very famous, one of the most famous figures in the Israeli Yeshiva world. He had two sons, but Yasla Schreiber was said by my father, if we would forget a toast, he would turn white. He would turn white. That's just I don't we see that's like a crazy chinuch. But that's like if our kid would go and turn a light on Shabbos, like that was what to his father. That's what it was like. I don't it was just like you forgot to like you forgot life. You said the curse word during the Rav's drush. Like what's with you? So this is very, very far from the way we live for a lot of reasons, right? But here's the point I want to say, and this is, I think, a very important point, Kinyanei HaTorah. I think we have to try to bring that feeling back to us by wherever we can, especially now that it's after Shavuos, right? The Kinyan Torah of Erech HaPayim means don't get angry because if you get angry, you're going to forget learning. Forgetting learning is a bad thing, not holding on to your learning. Each person, wherever he is a different. Again, I'm emphasizing, I know it's so difficult because it's so not objective to us, right? When you have an objective standard, in our house, you forget a tosis, dad turns white. So then you have to know every tosis, right? So that's for sure not the way it is in my house. I doubt it's anybody on this line's house. And and we're all accepting of the fact that we forget a lot and we don't know a lot and it's okay. And, whatever Hashem loves you, all this stuff that we're, mushy gushy and with ourselves and with others as we should be. And I'm not going against our whole mahalach, but I think we have to try to find in ourselves a little bit of that fire of, I don't want to forget any learning, or I want to make sure what I know, right? Does that make sense? Ever hear I was very happy with this as I was coming together. I think this is something, because when you talk about the Kinyanei Torah, that this is really what all the Kinyanei Torah are about, right? So, okay, so what? Obviously, look, we're all doing okay, and we're all not 100% complete in the Kinyanei Torah. So what? But the idea of 48 Kinyanei Torah means to really be the person who is holding on to learning. You have somehow to be all of these things, and if you're not, you're lacking. So how do we? It's like a little bit. It's like Chachma Rube Maisav. It's greater than us, and I get it. I'm exactly the same way, probably worse. So, but yet on the other hand, we have to find a place like where we have to find the sense in ourselves that this is really important. Like I remember Leifner said this one time about the Vaad. Maybe I don't remember the exact context, but maybe let's see where we were missing the Vaad. Or Leifner said, "Look, if this really means something to you." Like you guys are on every week. It's incredible, right? I don't know how many other people are listening, but if this means something to you, like you're there. You don't miss it. It's not like what does that mean? You're just like I would never just like not show up for a share that I'm giving. Basically, sometimes something will happen because I know people are waiting and I have to say shit like that. This is serious. So we have to find the place in ourselves that our Torah is like that. Yeah. That i.e., that's the whole idea of not necessarily anger. It could be anger, but anger is just one expression of where this relationship of not forgetting learning. Lolam lo eshkach pikudecha kivam chisani. I don't want to forget any of my learning because you give me life through them. Right? Like this is so important. So it's difficult, Rabos. I know it's difficult. It's difficult for me also because I forget so much. And what does it mean? Now I'm going to say everything I do, I'm going to remember and Chazer 50 times and then not even be able to get to the next year. I don't know. I don't know exactly where, but that's what I want everybody to struggle with over the week. Where is each person at his level, right? Where can we make some steps to make our Torah more like a life and death question for us? Right? Eli Stefanski has 45,000 whatever people listening. Do you think he would miss a year? He hasn't missed a shiur in 9 years or something like that, 7, 8 years. Can you imagine missing a shiur just saying, guys, I just didn't show up today? You wouldn't, because there are 45,000 people waiting. So on our level, there are places which is also like that. So it's easy for me because I give shiurim. People give shiurim, but in your learning, it's also like that. It's because ultimately, it's not because of 45,000 people. It's because the Kadosh Baruch Hu cares about each of his children, that they're learning, that they're getting their chelik, and that. So that's what everybody struggle with a little bit. I want everybody to try to first off listen carefully. I want everybody to think like, what is my chelik in Torah? What is the Torah that's mine? That I remember, that I know, that either in time or in yediyah, right? What is sacrosanct to me? And can we make like over the week to identify a little bit like what is sacrosanct? What is holy to me, my learning? Like what is something that I wouldn't give up on? And can we tighten it up a little bit, like make 2 or 3 steps if it's that these 15 minutes during Seder I'll never the first 15 minutes of Seder I won't bottle. Can we make it 16 minutes? Because again, it's not again to Olympic athlete, it's like to the highest performance, it's like every single it's every day, every practice, every meet, every this. We don't live in that way, and we're very not in that headspace, and it's probably good we're not. And you know, this Rav Osben is the one his son was saying. His son's a massive Talmud Chacham. He said, my father never let me play. I'm not sure it was good for me. So, the reasons we're not like that today, and but we're so to the other side of accepting and not. I'm talking mamish to myself, and so like everything is like a chiddush to us. But we have to find a little bit, especially after Shavuos, this like non-negotiable part of us. Where is Torah non-negotiable to us? I will be at this Seder. I will be at this thing. I don't miss. I know a fellow. He won't leave the community. He won't leave for Shabbos. His wife told my wife because my husband has to hear the drasha of the Rav. I was like shocked. Like, really? Like you miss the drasha of the Rav? No, no, no. We don't miss the drasha of the Rav like that. We don't miss the drasha of the Rav. So that would be an example for him. So maybe for him, it would be like coming an extra minute, making sure to get the best chair, the best seat. I think it's a very, very good thing to think about. It's a very good thing. I got it from Erech HaPayim because that's the point. The little bit of kas takes away the Torah, right? So maybe we're not in Madrega where the kas takes away the Torah, but there are things to us that take away our Torah, where it is. And in the world of Kinyanei HaTorah, we have to find it. So we have to. Everybody has to spend some good time. I'm not going to put a time thing on it. It's time you have to really sit down and think. What are the parts in your day, in your week, at least, that are sacrosanct for learning, for Torah specifically, and if it's in Yediyah or if it's in time or if it's in topic, and where can you take it up, in 2 or 3 of the areas, where can you take it up another notch? If it's 10 minutes, can I make it 11 minutes? If it's this level of learning intensity, can I make it a little bit more intense? If it's this way of coming on time, I'll make it come even more on time, etc. Like who. I don't want to put too many words in everybody's, but I think in a very, very practical way to like take it up a notch. It's very, very personal, and it's difficult. It's so difficult because it's so personal. Does that make sense? Because there's no objective standards today. It's Slobodka, the people who knew 500 daf were in the front. So I should know 500 daf. Today, what do you have to know? Especially a lot of us, we're not yeshiva anymore. So right, no one's asking me how well I know anything. No one's testing me. I know how to say the shiur I need to say, and I'm good. But where can I, where is my areas where I can be tighter about Torah, be more? Where's my areas where I can be tighter about Torah, more has to be about Torah, more definite about it, more tighter on myself, more demanding of myself, more this is life, I can't give up on it. Okay? So we got to do some serious cheshbon and nefesh, and then find 2 or 3 areas where we could adjust and take it up a level. That would be a very big accomplishment. Okay? I think it's a good thing, inspired by the Kinyanei Torah. I think it's the background of the whole Kinyanei Torah, and I look forward to doing it myself. And I think everybody will gain a lot if they spend the time. It's worth everything, and we'll expand on it more next week. This whole idea, things I've heard from Rav on this general topic, which is in the back of my head, which we'll share more of next week. Bleed Ender. Okay, all right, everybody. Hatzlacha Rabba. Kol Tuv. Shalom, shalom.
Right.